girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And a real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you utilize, please hit that follow and subscribe button so we can continue to bring you conversations like the one I'm bringing you today. Man, I reached out, I made the calling, and I got Alex Band from the band The Calling. What's going on, Alex?
You made the call and got the calling. There you go. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to go down memory lane and stuff with you and then talk about, current events. But usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I go like really far back. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Always. That's why I named the band The Calling, because it was my calling to be playing music. And when 3 years old, I think there's home videos of me, creating songs in my head, singing songs that were already 3-4 years old already. You kind of like be like, what? How's this possible? And then, me saying I wanted to be a rock star. And when I'm little, and I just always, it was my my dream as a child. And then I was very young when I got signed and into it all. 15, I was taken out of high school and signed to RCA and so on.
Yeah, I remember reading that you got started in the business in a very young age. I didn't realize at 3 and 4 and stuff you were already writing and whatever, kind of coming up with your own songs and stuff. That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
With the last name like Band, I guess you got to, kind of get in the band too, right?
I know, exactly. I know it's funny, but it's my real last name. And a lot of all my, my father, grandfather, great grandfather, I come from a lot of artists that, had success in different ways. So it's a cool family thing, I guess. Yeah, for sure. And then like you said that you were singing and stuff very young and performing. Do you remember some of the artists that originally caught your ear and you were a fan of? Oh yeah, absolutely. I growing up, I had my older teenage sister. She was listening to like Bon Jovi and and Don Henley and Pearl Jam, when that kind of stuff. And I was really into that, but at the same time, my dad was always playing music around the house, and it was David Bowie and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, that kind of stuff. So it all morphed together, I guess. And then those were some of my biggest inspirations.
Nice. Yeah, I remember my older sister was kind of like a influence for me, but she was into like Rod Stewart and like Leif Garrett and stuff. I'm really like dating myself. Okay. And then one Christmas, somebody for whatever reason got her like the Kiss Alive album, and she was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I was across the room, and I was just like,
"I'll take it."
Yeah. And then that started my journey.
Nice.
And then like you said you were like singing and stuff, but when did you start like actually like playing an instrument and writing your own music?
7.
I taught myself piano and guitar, and I was writing my own songs on guitar. Really, yeah, 7, 8 years old. And I think I made my first record in the studio when I was 11. So it was, yeah, really young.
Yeah, well, it's definitely was your calling, man, for sure.
Yeah.
And then like when you, I mean, let's see, I mean, you got into the calling at 15 and got signed to a label. Did you have any, was it just like solo stuff you were doing before the calling, or
Yeah, and
other bands?
yeah, and the calling itself was, I mean, our fans know was not really a band. I always hired people, so that's why the band members were always changing, you know, it was different hired musicians and so forth. So it wasn't like a band, you know, a group of dudes together and that sort of situation. Although that's what I have now after 20 years. The new iteration of the calling is that. But I was always just kind of the band. It wasn't quite a band in that sense, which was confusing.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, other than it being like your calling, was there any other inspirations behind you picking that name for the band?
So I didn't really have a name that was solidified for the band. I went by a couple different names in those years, 15, 16, 17, and then finally making the album at 18. And you know, it came down to the wire. You know, it was like, well, hey, you got to come up with a name. And it was yeah, I don't know if that was the honestly that was the only one that I really liked that wasn't like taken, you know. I mean, it's very hard to actually have a name that isn't, you know, taken in some sense and licensed to someone, patent or whatever. But it was available, so I was like, go for it. It was that simple.
Nice. Yeah, it would have been weird if you would have called yourselves the Alex Band.
Yeah, exactly, or Alex Band. Well, yes. I mean, I don't know, but who knows? Would have been same, different. I don't know.
But so I mean, you were saying too, you know, it's like 15 years old. You were you know, a high school kid. The calling gets signed. Now I was reading too that like the movie Coyote Ugly kind of played a role in helping get you guys signed. You care sharing that story a little bit?
Yeah, so it didn't help in getting us signed. So I was signed at 15, and then I put a band together over the following years, and basically at RCA Records, the guy who signed us didn't really think didn't think I had the first single, or didn't think I had hit songs yet, you know, and he was like, right. Meanwhile, Wherever You Will Go had been sitting on his desk since I first signed with him, right? It was one of the first songs I had given RCA. It was an acoustic demo, but it was still there. And so fast forward to 18, you know, 3 years in, at this point, I was, you know, just dying to like make a record and do something. And I was, you know, tied into this label and with the A&R guy, and it was my manager who had a friend at Disney who he always liked that of one of our songs. He played it for her. She loved it and wanted us in the movie. So I actually filmed. I mean, not only did I film that movie before I ever even made a record, but the movie came out. I mean, I was even at the premiere a year later for the movie, and I still didn't have a record out. I still didn't have. I mean, it wasn't even made. It was absurd. So it was a very frustrating time. And then finally, what got RCA to finally back making this record 4 years later was that. It was that, you know, the fact that that movie came out, that people wanted that song. They couldn't get it. Didn't exist. So it was like, all right, let's make a record quick.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was with my girlfriend earlier, and I was playing the song, and it's just like still over all these years later, you know, it was just like, hey, you remember this? She's like, oh yeah, I love that song, you know, and like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, I'm gonna interview the guy later. I want to ask about it. Like, when you can you recall like what was the inspiration writing that song?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Someone close in my family had died suddenly, and they left behind their husband, and I was just thinking of, you know, with my young brain, and also at the time my writing partner, who was a little older than me. We wrote this song together, but we were thinking of like, what, you know, if you could make a song, if you could say something to, you know, somebody that you've lost after you've passed away, like in the afterlife, if you could, you know, sing a song down to the person that you've left behind, and you know what I mean? Like it was that, like, you know, a love, you know, you're so, and that's kind of where the song came from. It was the idea. It certainly was misconstrued with the video and the way it was all, you know, kind of cheesy, you know, the way, I don't know, the way the calling was presented, because I was so young and whatever. It had nothing to do with what the song was about. I was just, yeah, the song has a much deeper meaning.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Yeah, you mentioned that because I was joking with her as well. It's like, I remember this came out, you know, and it'd be like a good song to play, you know, for a girl you're trying to impress or whatever. And I was going kind of by like the video and stuff too, you know, back in the day. And then I'm like re-listening to it with her, and I'm like, man, you know, this is because my girlfriend's like much older than me. I'm like, I guess this is something you could play at my funeral, yeah, or much younger than me. You know, I'm like,
my wife's older too. My wife is older than me as well. And yet, and you're right. It's a song that has, that, you know, everybody took it a different way, and you know, it has been played at millions of funerals. It's also been played at millions of weddings. You know, it works hand in hand like that. So that I'm really blessed that it was, you know, that people used it for such amazing, you know, events in their life.
Yeah, and that was, you know, that feeling I was getting re-listening to it, you know, getting ready for this interview, is just like, I'm much older now and mature, you know, and I'm like, wow, this is like, you know, I mean, did you ever think that at 15 or whenever you wrote this, that you'd have a song that would like be so influential in people's lives?
Absolutely not. I didn't know. I mean, at that age, I was just hungry to, you know, to make the record, put a record out, and you know, and tour and that kind of stuff. I hadn't experienced any of that yet. I had no clue. Remember, this was 4 years into a deal with a major label that really didn't believe in the song and didn't really believe. I mean, so I didn't really believe in it, or myself. I didn't, you know, it was, but I worked the crap out of it. I mean, 9 months, I think we spent in a radio in America pushing that song. Yeah. And they wanted to pull, it wouldn't break the top 10, and the label wanted to pull out and just like give up. And it was, I pushed them through to get, you know, by another 2 weeks, let's say, of radio promo and push, and then it broke, and then it went crazy, and then it was #1 everywhere around the world. And yeah, crazy.
And I remember, like, you know, as I was going back down memory lane, you know, listening to that album, there's a song that I really enjoyed, another one on there called Thank You. you mind sharing a little bit behind the inspiration behind that song?
Yeah, that was a song that was written much closer to the recording process and like making that record than Wherever You'll Go. It was a new song that we actually added to that first record right before it came out. So it was more of a thank you to the people that helped put basically help me get to where I was at that point. And it became more of like a kind of a thank you, like a song we play live to the fans, like a thank you to them. But it has different meanings too. It could be deeper than that, but it was it's, well, I don't know, it's one of those songs we played live usually for the fans. So.
Yeah, I know one thing that I was feeling for it myself, because like I said, I'm much older now, wiser. I'm in recovery. I got 15 years sobriety, so I have a lot of
good job.
Faith now, and I felt like that was like
it is a faith song.
Yeah,
it is about being grateful and yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I was feeling with it. And that's why I think I felt so moved to add that in here, because it's just like knowing, I mean, like I said, where old me was back in the day with Wherever I Will Go, and maybe my ulterior motives to impress some girl back in the day, and now as a father, as a sober man, as a man of faith, it's like songs like Thank You really pull at me now today. So I thank you for, writing those songs for fans like me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, we got really lucky that, it's not just about good songs. It's about timing. It's about a lot of different things that broke, and, but we got really lucky. We broke like outside of America 10 times bigger than America. So we had, I've been to over 100 countries touring, amazing fan bases in Europe, South America, especially Brazil, also in Asia, and so that was a super thrill too.
Yeah, and speaking of Brazil, I noticed with your latest single,
right,
Stand Up Now, that was filmed at a music festival down in Brazil. Then,
yeah, well, it was a tour. So last year. So we started finally making this album last year, and we had been writing it for years. But when I say we, I mean me and my two bandmates that I brought in to be an actual part of a band and be a band, which The Calling never was. So, but we were doing this big tour in South America. It was like 2 months long last year, and I wanted to release something. The Calling hadn't released anything for 20 years. So we had that newer song, and it's not necessarily our first single for the record, because that's going to be coming out later this year, and along with the album, of course. But Stand Up Now is the song we put out in conjunction with that tour. The video was filmed at multiple shows that we played. I mean, I think we did 30 shows down there and through South America, mostly Brazil. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, of course the fans there are amazing. And I've been, I think this was my 9th tour down there. So, over 20 years. So it's really great. You get to see these familiar faces and people who have grown up, and I can remember them as teenagers, and now they're, like you're saying, now they're adults, they have children. They're bringing their children to the shows. It was wild, this most recent tour. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of that too, it's just like, I mean, when you started in this, you were a child yourself, pretty much. What was that like? I mean, kind of coming out of high school, getting exposed at such a young age to the music business. And then what would you say you've learned taking into The Calling coming back now?
I mean, I've learned a lot. There's, I've been through every horrible thing that every artist talks about when it comes, you know, people stealing money from you, people screwing you over, people, you know, I've been held hostage. I've been on tour. I was kidnapped. You know, it's just crazy stuff. But I don't know. To think about me then, I was, you know, if I was young, I was naive. I certainly didn't know how any of this was going to go, or how the record business worked, or, you know, I was learning it on the fly. I wish I knew, then what I know now, you know. Of course, like some major changes I would have made that would have changed things. But at the same time, I mean, you know, that's the way life goes. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I say that now too, being in recovery, you know, like if I would have known some of the things I could have avoided, but that's, you know, not to gloss over, because I was unaware about, like, and if you don't want to talk about that, I understand.
I'm happy to talk about it.
And like kidnapped and held hostage, I wasn't aware of that. What's the story behind that?
So, well, first, before I even get into that, the first thing that not kind of rained on my parade, but basically destroyed me as a working musician was I had made a solo record. I was on EMI. I had the theme of the World Cup 2011 with Shakira. The record was just coming out. The single was going to #1 in parts of Europe. And I was then diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at 29. So I was you know, that was it. I mean, it hit me super hard. It was very similar to Michael J. Fox's thing. I'm just lucky that it happened to me 10, 15 years after it happened to him, because of the amazing medicines they had when I got it. But no, that's why the calling disappeared. I mean, I didn't even, so it took many years fighting that and getting better, you know, but with Parkinson's, they get so much better, you keep getting worse. But a miracle happened. I mean, I was 7 years into it. I started doing like too much. I was doing too well. And the doctors were like, you shouldn't be doing this well. And they redid a lot of my brain scans and things, and the disease wasn't showing anymore. They'd have no idea how that's possible, but that was for me, it was, you know, it's like a second chance of life. So, but anyways, so going back to what you were saying though, about being held hostage, that happened actually in like 2008 in Brazil. Actually, so this was, you know, when the calling, I was still, you know, touring the world, as the calling, getting ready for my solo record. But anyway, I was in Brazil, and the bodyguard team that the promoter hired, I didn't used to travel with my own bodyguard, which was stupid. I let promoters hire bodyguards for each like group of shows, you know. Anyway, our own bodyguard team turned on us and pulled machine guns out after a show in the dressing room and demanded 5,000 American dollars, which none of us had. We had that much in Brazilian real, their you know, their dollar, but anyway, it was a whole nightmare that ended up taking multiple days. But we got out of there that night. It was only a few hours. They ended up holding all our gear hostage instead. It was all stupid. Anyway, American Embassy got involved. I don't know if the guys got paid off or what it was, but you know, it was quite an experience, but nothing like kidnapped. This was insane. So I was 4 years with Parkinson's disease. I was diagnosed in 2011, and this was 2015. I wanted to try to play a show. Again, you know, it's the calling. I wanted to play a show and see if I could do it. Because at that point I was getting was getting well enough that, you know, I could play guitar again. I can't play piano. Like I have nerve damage and shit from it, but at least I was able to walk. Like, because the first year I had it, I was in a wheelchair. I was really screwed up. I couldn't barely talk. So once I was getting better, I said to my promoters, I was like, hey, I want to play a show. So they just picked a random state fair show in America. And I was like, great, let's do it. And, it was in Lapeer, Michigan, which was a beautiful little town, and I had no idea how close it was to Detroit and to Flint, Michigan, which I believe are not so safe. So anyway, I played that show, part of it sitting down, but the show went really well. People was good spirits, but there were some bad dudes in that audience that came up with a plan, and their plan worked. And that night, I walked out of my hotel across the street to get a vitamin water from like a gas station, and I was pulled into a van by two individuals, and the first thing they did was smash my face with a metal, like a police baton, I believe it was. So I broke my jaw, took out all these teeth. They took all my money. They took all my jewelry. They took my phone. They took everything. And then they drove me out to the middle of nowhere in an abandoned train station to kill me and leave me there. It was like a completely insane event. But it's a long story. I won't go into it now, but I talked my way out of out of being killed, and the main guy, the only guy I saw, really, the only face, like, it was very hard to see because I was blood in my eyes and stuff. But that one guy said, "It's your lucky day," and he kicked me out of the van, and they drove off. So I was spared that, but I was left there in the middle of nowhere. And when I was kicked out, I landed on the railroad track and I fractured my lower spine. So I was a mess, and I had to walk like 3 miles toward light to try to get, back. By that point, my people that I was touring with, my crew had been searching for me because I was only supposed to be gone a few minutes. This has been an hour at this point, and then longer. And they found me literally walking. Finally, I found it back to the main street there, and they said I looked like a zombie because I was just bleeding from my face, and I was like dragging my, it was crazy. So anyway, it took almost a year, but finally they were able to find that a-hole, the main guy, the one that I could recognize, and he went to jail for a long time. He's still in jail.
Wow. I mean, this is definitely your calling then, because it's like, as a person of faith, to go through that and survive and still be here, everything. I mean, going back to, and dealing with Parkinson's and everything, and to miraculously experience healing, that stuff doesn't just happen,
No, it doesn't. But honestly, I was questioning whether because again, I was just getting better enough from Parkinson's, and to be able to do that show, and then to have that happen, I was questioning whether I was, am I not supposed to be doing this? I mean, again, remember at this time, I still thought I had the disease, as well. Right. And it was a hard recovery. I ended up having multiple jawbone transplant implants, and they had to build my jawbone back up to then do fake teeth. Like everything's fake. I had to remove everything and build. It was a nightmare. But yes, I have crazy perseverance, and it was the music and that kept me going.
Yeah. I mean, like he said, it might not have seemed like your lucky day, but you could have been dead. They had every.
Oh no, easily. Again, I didn't even, I don't even tell you the details of the end, but yeah, no, it was just a split-second decision on that guy's part to spare me. So I was
like, and I personally believe that it is like some sort of divine intervention, you know. And now for you guys to be making this comeback, you know, which I don't know, I'm I think I go down many rabbit holes in my head with 15 years of sobriety now. I see a lot of different things that I don't believe in coincidences anymore. And it's just like, I was going to ask this question, but I think it's kind of like, you know, divine, but why after 20 years is now the calling coming back? But then when I look at where the state of our country and the state of the world today, it's just like, we need, you know, I think we all need to hear some sort of calling. So I don't know why, but why would you say, you know, now is the time for the calling to be coming back, you know? Or how do you feel?
I mean, it's simple. And for me, it was, I was dealing with two things for a good 10 years. The Parkinson's issue, which was holding me back. Of course, I mean, no one wanted to manage me. No label wanted to sign me. I had Parkinson's. It was not, you know, so it was hard. I was like, I couldn't really bring the calling back. And then the other drama I kept dealing with that was holding me back from bringing the calling back was legal drama. My original writing partner from the first record, he thought he should own half of the name of the calling, so he kept suing me, and it was state court and then federal court and this and this. It took years and years. He had no right, but whatever. It was, at the end of the day, it literally took until COVID, really, until I legally was free to be able to move forward as the calling. I was well enough to move forward as the calling, so it was, you know, if COVID didn't happen, we would have brought this sooner, but that kind of threw me, you know, threw everybody. I mean, it changed everything, and for me, it was like another gut punch, like, you know, because I was getting ready to do what I'm doing now and bringing it back, and then that happened, and it was, that kind of stole another few years, and so it's really a matter of. It's not a matter of I just decided I want to bring it back now. I've been trying to do this since forever. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I mean, definitely your perseverance, and I think like something more powerful behind it as well is allowing you to continue. What is you were mentioned that, you know, stand up now is just you kind of releasing that just to say, hey, this is.
It was just, yeah. I mean,
calling's back, but
I know, yeah. I wanted to really. I mean, again, although I, as a solo artist, released music, which didn't get its really time because I got Parkinson's during it. I hadn't really. I mean, the calling hadn't released anything, and yeah, I wanted with that tour last year, through South America, I released that song, and we did filmed the video obviously in Brazil, and again, that is officially the first single that the Calling's released in 20 years, so it's a big deal, but it isn't the first. It isn't like the radio poppy like song that you know we're putting out. Multiple songs, of course, to lead up to the album, because these days it's like, you know, you put song out, and then an album.
Everything's like more streaming now. I don't recall.
It's bizarre. I mean, it was for me, it was even an option. It was like, do you even want to make a record, or do you want to just have like 4 or 5 singles? It was like, no, I want to make an album, you know. So I'm really proud of this album. It's taken me a million years and a lot of hard work to get to the point to actually be able to do this, but the album itself, I'm ecstatic for people to hear, because it's clearly has massively deep emotional songs in it. And
I mean, it had to be very therapeutic for you to put pen to paper with everything that you've been through for this album. I'm assuming this is going to be very emotionally and from the heart. You know, as I felt like, you know, like the past albums were as well, but there's so much more, I'm sure, behind
Yeah.
what's coming. When is do you have a name for the album yet, and when it's going to be coming out?
I can't say the name yet, but yeah, I do. It's one of the songs from the record. But it's I don't know the exact album. We don't have a hard release date yet, but it's going to be probably after summer, I believe. So yeah, something like first single, second single, those kind of things will start during summer, and then the album will come out. Yeah.
Okay, so we're the first single won't be released till around summer.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, they say it'll be sooner, but I don't believe. I trust my gut. I would say it's that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then like, what would you say? You know, I mean, with the album, new album coming out, talks of touring to support.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in the last few years, you know, I've done extensive touring just to make sure I can handle it, obviously physically and emotionally, all that stuff, you know. And it's been great. I mean, I did a 51 show tour through Europe, which literally the last show was when they closed down the airlines and stuff, you know, when COVID hit. That was that tour I was doing through Europe, which went phenomenally well. And then I've been to South America a couple of times, like last year, again, a big long tour that was not so easy. So now that I know I'm able to do it, and my fan base is still alive and excited, you know. Yeah, of course there's I'm signed with UTA. There's a worldwide touring we're going to begin this year. Going to focus on America a lot, but we'll be everywhere. You know, again, I have a lot of, 70-80% of my fan base is outside of America. So it's there. I'll be all over the place. Yeah.
But nothing officially can be announced yet with that, huh?
No, but some tours. There's tours. I'm opening for some bigger artists, you know, that kind of thing, to get me back out there. You know what I mean? So the calling, so there's exciting stuff in the works.
Well, hopefully one of the dates brings you to Cleveland, man, because I'd definitely like to.
I'm in Cleveland a lot. Believe it or not, my dad, who makes horror movies, he moved his whole studios and operation there.
Really?
Yeah. So he bought like this old mansion in like some fancy area that was destroyed and 100 years old, and he rebuilt it. It's gorgeous, and he put his offices in there, and then he bought an old church and turned that into like a sound stage where he films movies and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, it's Full Moon Entertainment. He's made over 400 movies. He's been making movies since.
No way.
Oh yeah,
okay.
he made his name's
I'm
Charles
familiar
Band.
because I think he's done quite a few of the Cinema Wasteland conventions that
absolutely
hap out here in Strongsville.
He did like Puppet Master and Reanimator, and his first company put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original Halloween.
Nice, yeah.
But yeah, Troll, Ghoulies, lots of 80s. You know,
I'm good friends with David Greathouse, who does like the special effects and masks and stuff. So he probably knows.
Charlie Band.
Probably worked with
my dad. Yeah.
Because he used to go out to David used to go out to Hollywood a lot, but now because of technology and everything, it's easier for him to live here in Cleveland and work with people, and then fly out for the big gigs and everything. So that's awesome. I'd probably run into your dad then.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, cool, man. I'll have to catch you next time you come out this way.
Absolutely
to see him and everything.
In Cleveland for sure.
You don't want to be out here right now. It's in the negative temps.
I do not. I know. I'm very aware. It's painfully cold. My management is in Nashville, so I have to go there a lot. And there it's freezing enough. But man, yeah, I can't imagine. So yeah, no, it's very cool. Yeah, not like
but
LA.
I would be remiss though to not mention what we talked about before we went on too. You're born and raised in Hollywood, and you've been out there now dealing with the fires and everything. But you said your family has been okay, but you've witnessed a lot of people like I've heard from a lot of my friends out there.
Yes,
a lot of loss out there.
A lot of loss. Yeah, my childhood best friend lost his home out in Pasadena. I mean, multiple people I've worked with and stuff and lost their homes, and I'm in Studio City, so it's like we were just in a lucky area. We were literally surrounded by all the fires. It was, we got lots of smoke and all that, but yeah, I was lucky that we didn't lose our home. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, I know some other people out in Studio City, and my heart goes out to everybody that's dealing with the loss, and then prayers of protection, continued protection for you and so many others out there. Because I'm definitely looking forward to especially after. I mean, this is such an amazing comeback story, and I want to see it do well for you.
Me too.
Alex, so I hope we do get to cross paths some point in Cleveland. I hope that means you guys will play out here, as well.
When we play out there, we'll definitely be seeing you, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to ask you a couple questions before we get ready and wrap up that I normally ask my guests on here.
Sure.
We talked about some of the early music that inspired you growing up, but who would you say are your top 3 artists you're listening to today?
Today, U2. I mean, always big fan of U2. Still listening to them. Coldplay. I don't know if there's not too many new artists, like new artists that I'm super into, I would say. Pearl Jam still makes great music. I love that they're still around and doing great, amazing shows. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not into like radio super pop beat type stuff. So trying to think like this, as a band that I liked recently was like The Script. They had a lot of cool music. Anyway, there's a few, but yeah, that's I still listen to mostly older music.
Gotcha. Now I'm curious about your answer for this question. I always ask this one as well, but I mean, you pretty much went right into the music industry right out of high school. So you didn't have the normal high school, I guess, experience. No. But what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
What class should be mandatory?
Yeah.
I mean, history. I mean, yeah, science. I mean, the obvious ones, I guess. I don't know. I was always a decent student, but what's funny is I got an F in chorus in school. Like I have old report cards before I left, where I don't know why I didn't want to sing the songs they had. I guess I was talking a lot, and it's funny. That's the only F I got was in chorus. But yeah,
yeah, that's ironic. Yeah. And then, who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Bon Jovi, amazing. I became friends with him long ago when The Calling hit, and that was surreal. It was like my first concert was Bon Jovi when I was 12. Anyway, vocally, Steven Tyler. He's a big influence. Chris Cornell is definitely very. We saw each other many times in passing. It was always, you know, friendly highs, and so I didn't know him that close, but we had the same doctor, and it was sad that he's gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Great musician.
And then, are there any causes or organizations that you support and encourage others to check out?
Obviously, Michael J. Fox. I mean, his charity has. I mean, I owe them for all I know my life. I mean, the medicines wouldn't have existed that I had to take when I got Parkinson's if not for his charity and what they've been able to develop. So that's a huge one. And then previous to that, which I still advocate, I had a tattoo on my arm here. It's Donate Life. Organ donation. My first wife almost died. She needed a liver transplant. It was a whole nightmare. And I became heavily into Donate Life, and which is it's their charity arm basically just to gain awareness. People to sign up as donors. It's I mean, I've followed the whole thing like live. Like I've watched the person, like someone pass away, and then traveled with their organs to different people, and how it saved their lives. It's mind blowing. So yeah, it's
amazing.
Donate Life, isn't it?
And then I always ask this question, but I mean, like you were saying, you're already kind of singing and performing back at like 3, but favorite toy as a child?
Lego, probably. I mean,
nice.
That's been one of the most fun parts of having a little boy. My son is 8, and I got him into Lego really young. We've like built every massive Lego set there is. I don't even know there's no more places to put Lego. He's over it now. He's into like Minecraft and other stuff. But yeah, for me, I think Lego was a big thing. It was really creative and fun.
Yeah, it's cool to share with your kid until they're left out at night and you're walking to the bathroom or something. Step on.
Oh yeah, that's happened. We've all stepped on Legos. If you're a dad, you've had Legos. Yeah.
But with everything you've been through, I think that's like,
No, I know.
You step on some Legos, right?
Yeah, it's hard to phase me. That's true.
And then any message that you have for our military members that are currently serving overseas?
God, I mean, I'm just wishing them, safety, and I mean, thanking all of them massively. I send all my love and support. I hope they're a lot of them are able to come home soon. I hope there's peace soon, when at least somewhere. I'm incredibly grateful for what they do.
Awesome. Alex, for people that are might be new fans out there that haven't heard of the calling before or of you and want to follow even some of your solo stuff, where would you send them?
I mean, you obviously on Spotify you can find our music and so on and so forth. YouTube, the calling, you can see the new video there and all the older videos. But thecallingmusic.com is our website, which is being redone right now, so it's kind of a very simple one at the moment. But Twitter, I'd say not Twitter. What is it? It's X now. That's we're there, but we're mostly Instagram. I'd say is the best place to follow us. Again, it's usually when you're looking, search The Calling Music instead of just The Calling.
Gotcha. Yeah. Man, I really appreciate this conversation, man. I wasn't expecting it to go some places that I'm glad it did,
thank you. Thanks for having me.
What a powerful message. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you and supporting the Calling's comeback here, man.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Could I ask you one last favor before we tune out here?
Of course.
You mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Alex Band from The Calling, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Alex, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And
yeah, you too, man. We'll see you in Cleveland.
Sounds good. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.